Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another session with Michael and I, Brett Norman, here on the 19th of August, 2023. Another beautiful Sabbath day here in the States, and I think in Germany that it is nighttime now, so no longer Sabbath there, but still. Michael, I'm pleased to be with you again on another Bruce Lee session, and I know we're closing in on the grand finale for Bruce Lee, are we?
Yeah, hello Brett, hello dear listeners. I think that we are just 6 sessions ahead of us or so. So let's get into it. Last time we went into the most probably theory of the death of Bruce Lee, Poison Part 2. This is one of the last sessions about the backgrounds of the complete stuff. So I'm really glad when everything is said and done, but we have to say some things to get to the nitty-gritty of it all. This is the 5th and last movie, although it has been made in 1972 before Enter the Dragon, but it has then been postponed because it was not ready finished for the Warner Brothers continuation of Warner Brothers movie together with the Hong Kong company Enter the Dragon. So this is Game of Death. As usual, you see it has something to do with death. The first thing which struck me was the title music is coming from John Barry Prendergast. Never heard of him? Well, he's Order of the British Empire, and he composed the scores for 11 of the James Bond movies between 63 and 87. So they got the same composer as the James Bond movies. I thought, that's interesting. If you sum it up, it's not a coincidence, I think, because Bruce Lee was handed as the next one who could star in the movie The Man with the Golden Gun. But we will talk about that in another session. The original plot, however, which is much different to the plot that Game of Death Golden Harvest Company of Raymond Chow has presented us in 1978, would be that Lee is playing the role of Hai Tien, a retired champion martial artist who is confronted by Korean underworld gangs. Hence the title, Bruce Lee challenged the underworld to a game of death. Underworld. Who's the underworld?
Oh, let me take a guess, Michael.
Deep
the
state.
pagan world.
Deep
the
state.
pagan world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, deep state.
State.
Yeah. You know what? Deep state is just another word for Jesuits.
Yeah, it's a Man in Black. The Jesuits, yeah.
Man in Black, that's right.
You see, it has to do with a pagoda, so a pagan temple. Fight their way up to a 5-level pagoda. So you have the number 5 once again. The 5 times I will, the 5 times of Isaiah 14:12 of Lucifer then. Encountering a different challenge on each floor. So on each floor there's another martial artist waiting, but they have decided, no, we have to rewrite that script. So not with Betty Ting Pei. Here. Wasn't it Betty Ting Pei who wanted to have a role in Game of Death? But out of a sudden, when Game of Death had been continued to release a finished movie, only the last 11 or 12 minutes are from Bruce Lee's original footage, and the other stuff has been fooled around with, and many people do not regard this as a real Bruce Lee film. But nonetheless, it's very interesting that Betty Ting Pei did not show up. Yeah. So, Game of Death is a 1978 Hong Kong action film written under the pseudonym Jan Spears alongside Raymond Chow and directed by Robert Clouse, who did direct Enter the Dragon, with action directed by Sammo Hung. They had stunt doubles in it, and Robert Clouse was not only the director of Enter the Dragon, but he also wrote that book, Bruce Lee, a biography, and with the chapter 18 it's been called Who Killed Him? Not what killed him, or which tablet of Equagesic killed him, or what else, but who killed him. So the 78 version uses portions of the original footage married to an entirely new plot involving a new character, Billy Lowe, which is of course Bruce Lee, or supposed to be Bruce Lee, struggling against a racketeering syndicate without any name after gaining international success as a martial arts movie star. Oh, could that be autobiographical? When Billy, so Bruce, refused to be intimidated by the syndicate, henchman Steiner interesting. Steiner, which is the German equivalent to Stoner, which is the movie that George Lazenby did together with Betty Ting-Pei, and they had a bed scene and they had an aphrodisiac, and and his gang of thugs, syndicate owner Dr. Land, orders his assassination to serve as an example to others. If you smell something, then you smell the same thing most probably than me. That it is not by accident this kind of story. So, it is somebody who is a martial artist who is intimidated by a syndicate, and a syndicate owner, or the dragon head if it would be a triad, orders his assassination to serve as an example to others. So, interesting also that Gig Young, that was the guy who was interviewing James Dean a few days before his death about reckless driving, that's the one who's playing Jim Marshall. Jim Marshall could be a synonym for Adrian Marshall, which would be the lawyer of Mrs. Linda Lee. You remember the last letter, or one of the last letters, on allegedly the 20th of July, the death date of Bruce Lee, has been sent to Adrian Marshall as the representative for Linda Lee, that everything in his belonging would then belong to Linda Lee. And Tom Bleecker, the second husband of Bruce Lee's widow, said that Linda Lee had a year-long affair with her own lawyer. Why did they name that character as Marshall? That's very strange, huh? Very strange. Also, the actor is another strange thing, because during this movie, Game of Death, he was getting to know his future wife. They married a few days later, if I remember correctly. And then, allegedly, as he was a collector of weapons, he shot his new wife and shot himself. No questions. Could be a coincidence. Maybe also Gig Young was in some kind of syndicate action, or maybe he knew too much. Nobody knows, but these are just things that happen randomly, that people are just killing himself or just being killed, or what else. The revised version of the movie uses only 11 minutes. 11 being a famous number of Genesis chapter 11, the Tower of Babel, which is a reminiscence or reference to Freemasonry. 11 minutes and 7 seconds of the footage from the original The Game of Death, and the vast majority of the movie, the role of Billy Lowe, Bruce Lee, was shared by Korean Taekwondo master Kim Tae-yong and Hong Kong martial arts actor Yuen Bi-ah. Remember? One of the stuntmen who wanted to join Bruce Lee in Hollywood, and was voiced by Chris Kent. So much, so bad. The theme song was sung by Colleen Camp, where we will introduce you to her. It became the 8th highest grossing film of 78, with distributor rental earnings of 1.45 billion yen, equivalent to 16 million in the United States in that time. So much, so good, or so bad. Uma Thurman wears a similar dress in Kill Bill Volume 1 when she is killing... What's the name? David Carradine. David Carradine, who was the actor in Kung Fu series, which usually would have Bruce Lee as the leading actor, but that's it. I'm not going into this because I have made some other things. So, Bay Logan, as one of the most prominent Hong Kong movie directors, actors, martial artists, says in 1978 there was a rumor that that this movie is derived from Game of Death, that Bruce Lee wasn't dead, that he was actually faking his death to escape his enemies or to go into seclusion in a monastery or wherever else, and that is the theory of this Game of Death. But there's much more to it. Just wait for that. It's very interesting that Robert Clouse did not dare to write this script under his own name, but under the pseudonym John Spears. It's very interesting. Before becoming a director, Clouse worked as a still photographer for CBS television and served in the military, so it's interesting that he has also a military background, huh? He was completely deaf, relying on assistant directors later onto his career to verify that actors had delivered their lines correctly. Interesting, huh? That you just have... ask a director which is completely deaf, yeah, which is also a positive thing, because he won't hear any confidential information, huh? In 78, Klaus re-teamed with Bruce Lee again with Game of Death, having to finish the footage in a creative way after Lee's death. For that film, he made a trip to Hong Kong, where Golden Harvest boss Raymond Chow hired him in order to direct a comeback film for Lee, despite the fact that Lee had died in 1973, 5 years earlier. 5 years. Oh, like 5 pagodas, like, what else? Klaus also wrote and published a biography on Lee entitled Bruce Lee, the Biography, which was published in 1989, where I told you that in chapter 18, 3 times 6, 666, is named Who Killed Him? Interesting. So, an excerpt from the book in Klaus' voice reads, "My direct contact with Bruce Lee occurred between November 72 and June 73 when I started pre-production of the film Enter the Dragon, and through the post-production period when Bruce came to the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank, California to complete some dubbing of dialogue that had been poorly recorded in Hong Kong. Many of the people I interviewed for this book I had known from that time, but many others I met for the first time during research of the elusive Bruce Lee. My perceptions of Bruce were dented and bent from what I know about him. Others were destroyed. Piecing together the portrait is imprecise, but the attempt goes on." So much so, he worked for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers happened to be the company of the Warner Brothers. One of them being Jack Warner. Jack Warner was a member of Mount Olive Lodge 506. 5 plus 6 equals, Brad?
11.
In Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles. Interesting. Los Angeles. Once again, the city of angels. Los Angeles is Spanish, called the city of angels. Yeah. So we're talking about the Freemason Company with Warner Brothers. The number 5, also the Chinese people in Hong Kong have a lot of Cantonese slang about the 5 elements. In Chinese culture, metal is sometimes replaced by gold as being one of the 5 elements. Hence the gold ninjas in 5-element ninjas. It is possible that Bruce Lee may have wanted each of the 5 floors in the Game of Death to represent the 5 elements. 5-pointed star. So this is Game of Death starting with a board of play. What's it named in English? Brett, can you see it?
That looks like backgammon, is it?
Backgammon, I think it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Game of Death. So that must be very, very negative, a Game of Death. Yeah? So you gamble maybe, and what's on stake is your life. Yeah, it's not only about money, because it is not a game of money, it is a game of death. So this is Gig Young, where I told you that he has been suicided himself, or who else suicided him, nobody knows. You have Colleen Camp, you have CC. CC does mean what? Like Coca-Cola? Brett, can you come up with an idea what CC could actually mean in numerals?
Well, C is the 3rd letter in the alphabet, in the English alphabet, so that would be 33. 33,
once again, yes. Yeah, 33 being the highest rank in Freemasonry. Then you got here kind of a shuffle or so, what it is. So with play game cards, and one of the cards who's coming up is, of course, the card number 13. 13 being the parts of Osiris in the Egyptian mythology, when Osiris was been slain by his evil brother Set, and was been chopped into 14 pieces, and his wife Isis could find all 13 pieces, but not his best part, his phallus, because it has been eaten up by a crocodile in the River Nile. So 13 is the number of Freemasonry, or the cult of Osiris. Yeah, so they come up with that because Osiris now is dead. Officially, this is mythology, of course. He's in the underworld, therefore he's been called the god of the underworld. And many people claim incorrectly that all the all these obelisks are a reference to Osiris. But actually they are a reference of Nimrod, which is far more older from Babylonian mythology. But usually these ancient worship pagans, and so they are worshipping things they see, and what they see is the last remaining world wonder of the ancient times, being the pyramids of Gizeh in Egypt, and so therefore they're worshipping the Egyptian trinity of Isis, Horus, and Set. And many people claim that the Jesuits' IHS symbol has something to do with it. We, Brett and me, are highly doubting that, but nevertheless, this is the card 13. Of course, it is a game of death, so therefore they're coming up with the 13th of of the tarot card, which is very interesting because when you realize in the first session, which was a pre-Bruce Lee session, we came up with what happened in China, and we talked about that the Jesuits were just then invading Macau. At Macau, in comparison to Hong Kong, is allowing gamble. Yeah, so if there is a gambling, it officially could not take place in Hong Kong, but in Macau. So you got a reference to the Jesuits as well, in my humble opinion. May sound a little bit far-fetched, but nonetheless. So, other actors are coming up, and then interesting that picture, which depicts Bruce Lee behind a set of bars, which could only mean that he's been a prisoner, imprisoned, or he's belonging behind bars, whatever thing you might have in your mind. But he doesn't look very nice, and that doesn't look very comfortable, so therefore you see that is also symbology to deal with. Hugh O'Brien, who plays also a sinister part, which we come later to. Then Bob Wall was also it's Robert Wall. It's the guy in the last session of Poison Part 2 called in the Roman Colosseum in Rome. That was the place where Christian been eaten up by lions. Danny Inosanto, Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris was trying to sue the company because only his 10-second long fight from Way of the Dragon had been shown, but they wanted to promote the movie. And now comes the biggest thing. The biggest thing they come up with is this circular plate with some kind of numerals outside and some kind of horses. I would have expected here a zodiac, but obviously it isn't. It looks like... what is it, roulette in English?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it looks like, but in the middle part you can clearly see MASON at CO, so at Mason at company.
At the center, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The center of the whole wheel.
Yes.
I see.
So who's in the center of it all? It's the Masons and another company. So many people claim, oh yeah, that could be a reference to Freemasonry, and I would agree.
Remember who's referred to as the company?
Mm-hmm.
The Jesuits.
Mm-hmm. So now it goes on and on and on. They are showing you some dominoes here. It's also interesting, and these dominoes. So maybe that's also a code. I do not know. What's interesting is also they come up with a set of cards here, and then the associate producer Andrew Morgan. You know, Brad, that Andrew Morgan is the guy who claimed that the cargo area of a 747 is not pressurized. That's the guy, Andrew Morgan, which was the only native English speaker in Golden Harvest Company from Raymond Chow. So. You can ask yourself what kind of a background he has. And let me tell you, his father is from military. Yeah. So this is also a very interesting combination of a set of cards here, because it's a black ace. What's the number? What's it called in English?
Spades?
Spades. Ace of spades, yeah.
There you go.
And that is called aces and eights. Yeah, that is supposedly the last cards that that's in poker. That man's hand, the card hand perpetually held by Wild Bill Hickok and the time of his death. Black aces and eights. Yeah, it's not 1-to-1, but there are two. There is an ace, and it looks like it could something to do with it, because at least it's a black color, and these black color cards in tarot or prophesizing or card reading, they don't have a positive meaning, unless you are a Satanist, of course, who turns everything around. Yeah. And here you see you got these aces and eights in that picture. This is the intro of the movie.
I see.
Yeah. I have not forgotten it. You see.
But they throw a red one in there just for fun, huh?
Yeah, but you see that there are three aces here and eights. Yeah, so it's aces and eights, not the black ace. It is. Yeah, this is ace, this is an ace, an eight. Yeah, it's very close, I'd say.
It is close, yes.
It's very close. So in the next picture, you see it has been written by Jan Spears, and we know that is a synonym from Robert Klaus. Yeah, together with Raymond Chow. So they did wrote a script for Game of Death, but after Bruce Lee's death. And there is no Betty Ting Pei in this movie, which tells you, Brad, what?
It's all a setup. I don't
It's
know.
all set up. It's all a fabrication. The original story
Sure.
of July the 20th. Yeah. Interesting is that years later, after that movie, 10 years later after that movie, that Robert Klaus, the director of Enter the Dragon and Game of Death, wrote this biography on Bruce Lee, Chapter 18, Who Killed Him. There are coincidences in this world. There are unbelievable coincidences in the world. Who killed him? Then you got a checkered board with some figures which I can hardly decode as chess, because I do not can differ the pawns and the kings. But it is a checkered board, and we know that a checkered board, black and white reference, is a Masonic Freemason reference. Yeah, so there is much going on, even in that intro. So directed Robert Klaus, and this could also have a certain meaning. So there is love against what else, but Robert Klaus, and this is the only time when Chuck Norris is showing up. In that interview, which we have done with Michael Chan-Wei-Man, the number 2 officially of 40K and Riot, he said, time is money, make money is first priority. And so making movies is first priority to make money out of it. Yeah, he said it was about righteousness, but it can also mean that he means it was about losing face. He said making money was secondary, but I highly doubt that, because money is what the world goes around. It's the mammon, it's the old trick of Satan, that he is just setting up people and just rewarding them. So like Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus Christ and he received 30 coins of silver.
Well, Michael, the thing of it is, okay, Shang Wei Man, is that his name?
Yeah, Michael Chan-Wei-Man, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Michael Chan Wei Man, he says, in my era, it was about righteousness. Well, he's not telling you what righteousness is he. Mm-hmm. Is it the righteousness of God the Father or his adversary? Because you can have a wicked form of righteousness. You better believe it. It's called vanity. Yeah, vain glory, vain worship. It's worship that's only done for outward appearance. You only do it to please the eyes of those in front of you. Vain glory, yeah. This world's full of it.
And that guy has found officially his burned Porsche, finding his car in ruins. So they burned up his car. So I don't know if that is fake news or not, but so be it.
Well, it could be that it was done on purpose. Inside job. They did it. I need a new Porsche. Just blow it up anyway.
So it starts with an old take from Way of the Dragon in the Colosseum, which has been rebuilt or repainted in Hong Kong. So this is not the original Colosseum. And then the movie goes over to the fake actor portraying then Bruce Lee, or Billy Lowe in that movie. And then some accidents are happening on the screen. Yeah, so this is not Bruce Lee anymore. And now this is happening. Yeah, so a projector is coming down. And they are merging now old pictures with new pictures and old videos with new videos. And yeah, so that could be, that was an assault on his life, of course. And so this is how the story begins, that somebody wants to get him out of the way. That's how the cookie crumbles. He makes his way to his room. Now it's very funny because they have mixed something up here and cut it apart. So that is his head speaking, but this is just a puppet or what else. It's very hilarious. Yeah, so and he's now been threatened by that syndicate. Now this is also from an older movie. He's been threatened by that guy from that syndicate who's telling him, yeah, we haven't heard from you lately, and we don't want to protect you and all the stuff. So he's threatening him. And look at his gesture. And he says, yeah, we had a rock band in London, and the guitarist, he lost 2 fingers. Yeah. And what he's showing is, of course, Manu Cornuta. It's a sign of the horns. Right there, it is 1978. This is not 2023, 1978. It was only known in heavy metal things. It was from Ronnie James Dio, who claimed to have invented or discovered it for the heavy metal scene, and it has been in use since more than 2,000 years in Italy as a protection sign against the evil. Sure, it's always the opposite. Yeah, so it's Satanism. Yeah, it's a worship of Satan. Yeah, that's it. That's the devil's horns, which is also very apparently, if you see his walking stick. It's in the form of a serpent. Yeah, so you don't have to follow the, you see, how coincidental, huh? It's also a white snake, which is very interesting.
You know what that reminds me of, Michael?
Yeah.
You know the staffs that the
pharaohs?
the papacy use today. They use them today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The staff, you see that curled. Or what do you call it? Curling, right? When it's a curling snake, actually.
Serpentine,
it's supposed to represent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and we also have learned in the last session that it was this mythology fairy tale of China of the white snake, and that looks quite white or ivory to me, at least. Okay. So that has been a threat. So he's been threatened that. If you don't pay, if you don't cooperate, then maybe some other accidents will happen on the set. Yeah, like crushing projectors, crushing lights, or what else. And he's been kindly asked. Yeah, you see that is once again this is a puppeteer and the image. Has nothing to do with the real deal. Yeah, but they get away with that. And now he's threatening him with a knife or with a stick in a knife. And the other. And other end of it, of course, is the serpent, yeah, the white snake. Huh? So he refused to cooperate with the syndicate, and therefore all the mess will start. Of course, he will be threatened once again. Yeah, that's it. The lead guitarist lost a couple of fingers on one night. Sure, you have to believe it. Yeah, so that's the same gesture that Bruce Lee was showing to Chuck Norris, where, of course, in Italy or in Hong Kong, portraying Italy. Yeah, because it's an Italian so-called protection sign of protection. Yeah, and he's doing it all over again. Look at this. I have put it into this. This is Enter the Dragon, John Saxon, and he's showing that sign again, and he's showing that sign again. And this sign has been shown by one of his students, Richard Bustillo, and the company again. So usually nowadays it is common because they're all in the same boat, sometimes without knowing it and thinking it is about heavy metal or what else. At least it's a god of Mendes, or it's just a devil's horn. There's nothing to it. Yeah, it's just a devil's horn. And also the Triad societies in Hong Kong, they have a similar sign, which we have talked about in our Triads episode. Yeah, so you see they also have other fingers. Yeah, you see here the middle finger and the index finger. Is it the small finger? Is it the index finger? No, it's the little finger, huh?
The pinky, yeah.
The pinky. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah. You see, this would be the devil's horns. Yeah. Oh my, oh my, oh my. So coming from that book of Taxi Mars, which is related, I'm sorry to say, to Alex Jones. So therefore, I can only follow his explanations of the occult. But he has not the right Christianity explanations for us. But so be it. In that Codex Magica, we see that there are certain versions of the Diablo, the sign of the horn, which means I love you, Satan. When the Pope is making that sign, it means I love you, Satan. And it comes from an old book, a very old book, Kitab al-Buhan, from the Middle Ages. And then it's been depicted that he is showing also the sign of the horns. Yeah, so they're threatening him, and by pure accident, Bruce is driving a golden Mercedes-Benz SL, maybe a 350, huh? Yeah, what a coincidence. Yeah, then he's being shown with black sunglasses because it would be too apparent that he's not Bruce Lee and just an actor. And then somebody comes up with a very, very, very big Bentley or Rolls Royce or whatever it is, and that indicates what's, Brett? Think of Hong Kong and cars.
What?
Yeah, you think of that. Bruce Lee is here, or the actor called playing Bruce Lee is being driving with a Mercedes-Benz and been attacked by people who have been ordering by a boss sitting in a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. In terms of hierarchy in Hong Kong, what does that mean?
Oh, the top, yeah.
Yeah, the top, yeah. Somebody from the top, a film producer or a millionaire or what else.
Mm-hmm. Right. The hierarchy, the top of hierarchy
yes.
is really what it is, yeah.
Yeah. So they're thinking about how to get rid of Mr. Lee or who else, or Billy Lowe, or what the character is. And they are now showing here the funeral parlor in Hong Kong, which is a very bad taste because these are pictures from the original funeral of Bruce Lee. They have implemented that in that movie. Yeah. So what's it about? What Michael Chan May said, it was not about money. Yeah, sure, it's about money, and they are just Raymond Chow has sent people to that to make images and record a movie out of that you can use it in a later version of a Bruce Lee movie. Yeah. So they're all in only for the money to get the best shot. So Bruce is then trying to beat up people, which is very awkward because now his opponent is wearing his yellow suit, and that guy with the with no hairs is just pulling the strings from behind. And if you would like now to compare a picture of Raymond Chow, then you would see the similarity, I think. Yeah, the man with no hairs, or at least very few hairs. So what's it meaning is that's an older gentleman who's pulling the strings. His name here is Dr. Land. It's not Dr. Langford, but Dr. Land. He's pulling the strings here. This is the excerpt of the original script of Game of Death called "The Chinese Syndicate," whoever that is, wants to make sure they're riding with the winner, so they're willing to buy a little insurance. $1.5 million in cash will be arriving in Macau. Macau. So at the other end of the line, in America, somebody knows what Macau actually means. Or do you?
No.
Macau means Jesuits.
Oh.
Yeah, we talked about that they were first were occupying Macau. And Macau gambling is allowed, but not in Hong Kong. So what happens now? It just happens that Billy Lowe or Bruce Lee is into a fight scene, and they are preparing blanks. Yeah, in that picture. Oh, we go to that picture. Oh, I haven't forgotten the time frame. There is that scene, yeah. Now they want to shoot that scene when, officially this comes from Fist of Fury, when he was discovering that the Japanese cook has poisoned his martial art teacher, and now he's preparing to make a high jump in front of the camera, and on the other hand, on the other side, usually there is police waiting to gun him down. And this is here in Game of Death. So they are actually here recalling a situation which has been shot in 1972 in Fist of Fury. Action. Yeah, so this is official Fist of Fury movie. This has now been cut in, and on the back, or in the back, you see the director Lo Wei. That was the exact same director who has been on the 5th of July 1973 been threatened by a knife on the throat by Bruce Lee. And he's acting here as the police inspector in the 1972 movie. Very interesting. I hope you can follow me with all these informations. But this scene has now been reshooted or been mocked up in that movie Game of Death 1978. Yeah, so this is original movie. This is the original movie. This is cut in, cut in, cut in, cut in. And one of the actors who are supposedly to firing any blanks now is a contract killer. You see that in his smoking, which is totally laughable because he stands out of the crowd. Yeah, and now he's waiting until 1972. Bruce Lee is coming out of that picture, makes his high jump and his yell, and all of a sudden that guy now here is shooting Mr. Lee, or Billy Lowe in 1978. And that's what happens now in that movie 1978. The original movie 1972, Fist of Fury, ended here, so you have to assume that he got killed, but nobody knows. So now in 1978 they have reshooted that scene, and somebody has killed him or somebody has shot him in the face. So that was no warning of the so-called syndicate. That was just to get rid of him. So in the hospital now, they're trying to get him fixed, and as he is a victim of a murder threat, a complot, they try to make surgery on him that he receives a new face, hence the illusion, or hence the mythology that he did not die, he is just 10 years in seclusion or what else, yeah. So these are official pictures of the funeral of Bruce Lee being mixed in now, so that it appears as if it's real. And you see there are no boundaries between reality and fiction here, which is typical. And you see here some of these banners mean a Stasi in a sea of arts, hence the 40K Triad Stasi company. This is the coffin. This is all original footage. So it's all about the money. During in the 1978 movie, he receives a new face, sure. But and here you see, somewhere here there's a star things in the sea of art. What's more delicate is another thing. In 1972, the inspector, played by the director Lo Wei, who was also tried in the 1978 movie, a Chinese syndicate with no name, so a house with no name, is shooting down, a contract killer is shooting down the actor who did not want to cooperate with the so-called Chinese syndicate. Now we are switching to the son of Bruce Lee, called Brandon Bruce Lee, who happened to be shot at a scene on the movie The Crow, which crow would mean an occult bird, which is a kind of a messenger to the gods. He had a so-called accidental death during The Crow's production, if you believe it. Can you believe it? On March the 31st, so another 13 here, 1993, while filming The Crow, Lee died from a wound on set caused by a firearm malfunction. The lead tip of a bullet from a previous scene had stayed in the barrel of a handgun and ruptured a major blood vessel when a blank was shot at Lee. Yeah, you can make up, if you think that is a coincidence, 1972 movie where Bruce Lee in the movie had been shot, and then 1978 where the double of Bruce Lee had been shot, and then you come out in 1993 that his son has been accidentally shot on a scene in the movie. Oh my. And you think that is all a coincidence. Some people say that, okay, both have faked their death. Some people said, oh yeah, they both died on purpose and not an accident. At least if you think that the death of Bruce Lee was not an accident, I think then the death of Brandon Lee serves as a major example that there is too much of a coincidence. What would you say, Brett?
Sorry, Michael. I was out of the room again.
Where shall I start?
Yeah, too much of a coincidence, you said?
If you think that in the 1972 movie Fist of Fury, where Bruce Lee in the movie himself was being betrayed by a Chinese police detective played by the director in real life, the director in real life, Lo Wei, who happened to be a triad in real life. And then this scene has been doubled in the Game of Death, where the Chinese syndicate with no name then is shooting Bruce Lee in the same scene, and then is said is he's faking his death. And then in 1993, on March the 31st, which is another resemblance to 13, his son, Brandon Bruce Lee, died from a wound on set caused by a firearm malfunction. The lead tip of a bullet from a previous scene has stayed in the barrel of a handgun and ruptured a major blood vessel when a blank was shot at Lee, which actually is the same scene as Game of Death, because in Game of Death, one is using a real bullet instead of a fake one. And you think that is a coincidence?
No.
The death of his son proves the thing that there is something to it, because there are no such coincidences that the father dies of an idiosyncratic allergic reaction to one tablet of aspirin and the son dies of a misfunction of a firearm in a movie.
Well, isn't it ironic, though? You know, this fellow who's openly admitted to being part of the secret societies is the head of the triads in what was this, Feng Shengwei Man, or what was his name?
Yeah.
That guy said that it's all about the money.
No, you mean Michael Chan Wei Man, not Feng, Michael Chan Wei Man. Yeah, sure, but if you hand over one additional information now. That in the beginning of the 90s, Bruce Lee was doing a movie in Hong Kong or in Asia together with Dolph Lundgren. And it was Michael Chan Wei Man who was assisting him. So you can also suppose that Michael Chan Wei Man tried to protect Brandon Lee in Hong Kong. But Brandon Lee was insulting the elders in Hong Kong because he was very rude to them. You can ask whom you want. There are certain rumors out there that Brandon Lee wanted to investigate the death of his father after this movie, The Crow, where he was accidentally shot. And that would result in a big motive, I think. Can't prove anything, but that would result in a big motive, I think. What a world, huh? So they're using the official funeral session of Bruce Lee to make a movie where they make more money out of it. They make even money out of his funeral. Yeah. And this is just from that movie, an excerpt. The gentlemen from the Chinese syndicate and the cash have arrived in Macau. Once again, Macau, huh? Macau is gambling. And Macau is also where the Jesuits have established themselves. Syndicate means a synonym for organized crime and the mob. Yeah, so syndicate is another modern term.
I apologize for not knowing. I really feel like this is just so foreign to me. Everything about it. Where is this coming from? This is part of the script from the Chinese syndicate and the cash.
It's nevertheless it's a script of Game of Death.
This is in the script.
Yeah, this is in the script. Yeah, it's in a movie. It's in the script. Everything you see here in this kind of a font. Yeah, this is Times Courier or Times Roman. In this typewriter kind of font. Yeah, this is from the original script of Game of Death. And I said, okay, syndicate is another name for the mob from 1929 onwards. Yeah, so it means the Chinese mob. Chinese syndicate means the Chinese mob. Chinese mob is the triad. So Chinese syndicate is another term for the triads. Yeah, so it is a triad involvement in the Game of Death of Bruce Lee. That's so clear because they are just playing around with words, but that's actually what it means, or what it most probably means. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Which is very interesting because now look at the similarity of T-Money. T-Money is much older than these, from the snake venom poison. of the Russell's Viper last time of T-Money of Tom Bleecker, the second husband of Bruce Lee's widow. And look at this, look at the cover. So that's the content. While writing the biography of a deceased international Asian megastar whose death was ruled as accident, a former street reporter battled a powerful Asian crime syndicate. Do I say any more? So Tom Bleecker is using the same name for the trials as Game of Death. Powerful Asian crime syndicate. It's the same as from the original script of Game of Death, the Chinese syndicate. Yeah, Asian crime syndicate, Chinese syndicate. I think that's spot on, much the same. When he discovers that the celebrity was murdered and that his widow, who could it be, under the threat of death had become an accomplice in the murder cover-up and the victim of extortion. So that's it. These are just coincidences, of course. So these people from the Chinese syndicate, they had just arrived in a sanitarium where the widow of the deceased Billy Lowe, aka as Bruce Lee, has then been, and she says, get out, you murderers, get out of here, get out. And they say, oh, he's a rude bitch. Yeah, later on you see some Chinese dragon plays and all the stuff, and the murderers are driving an American vehicle. That's interesting, Brett, huh? Isn't it interesting that they are not driving a Japanese vehicle, which we would expect, or a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce or what else? Yeah, they're driving an American vehicle, which means there could be some American involvement in it.
Yeah. It's an admission, isn't it?
Can you recall the make of that car? Isn't it Oldsmobile?
Is it a Chrysler?
A Chrysler, okay.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me zoom in on it. I can't quite see.
Mm-hmm.
What's the hood? What's on the front underneath the hood there? I can't even see it.
Could be
but
a Chrysler.
It looks like a Buick or a Chrysler or something. I don't know.
But we know that pale green is the color of witchcraft, and we know that is an American. Can we agree on an American vehicle?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that means that these people...
Maybe a Pontiac. I don't know.
We can agree on the fact that they have been driven by an American vehicle. So they are driven by American interest, maybe.
Look,
also.
My dad had a car like this. It was the first car he ever had. Mm-hmm. And I was about 17 years old when he got it, and I loved it.
Yeah, maybe very comfy and roomy.
Yeah, it was. It was like driving a boat.
Look at the license plates. Is there something you would find odd?
What? 3000. Mm-hmm. So you have 3, and then you have 3 zeros.
Mm-hmm.
So 33.
Something other that you can come up with?
Michael, I have no idea. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll show you.
Oh, weird.
The presidential car of John F. Kennedy, where Freemasons were involved, bears the license plate GG300. 300 means Shin letter value 300. The number of the license plate means path 31, judgment Aeon in the Kabbalistic tree of life. And that car has 3000, so it's just an extension or an addition of another 0. I found that very interesting. An American car which resembles 3000. That could be a coincidence, of course. Yeah, nothing to it. Nothing to it. It's just so that it was a Freemason attack in the Freemason temple, and that the introduction of Game of Death says Mason and Company, but it's just a coincidence, of course. We live in a world full of coincidences if you just believe all the mass media. Also, which I did was to use that coloration artificial intelligence, so to speak, if there would be any, but there is no artificial intelligence, with the famous Altgen 6 picture. And look, you see it maybe the first time in color. We have talked elaborately about that picture, but only in black and white. And now, for the first time, I have said, okay, I want to see it in color because it looks much more alive, doesn't it? No, Brad? Don't think so?
Oh, what do you mean? It was black and white originally?
Originally, sorry, originally Altgen 6 is pure black and white, Altgen 6.
Mhm.
Which came into my mind, and I said, okay, so maybe the morgue picture of Bruce Lee actually was only in black and white, because they only had black and white for these reporters to use for money purposes or so. But this is the original picture, Altgen 6. This is only black and white.
Right.
And now we have this artificial calculation and all the stuff, and it can get a color picture so that the assassination of Kennedy looks much more realistic, or that picture does look much more not that old, at least. Yeah. So these guys from Macau who are having any insurance and are just want to spend 1.5 million, which is interesting because that is close to the amount of Bruce Lee's insurance. Haha, what a coincidence. They say, oh, we don't need to count that. We know that making business with you guys is absolutely no problem. Then out of a sudden, any kind of Bruce Lee who has been risen from the grave, so to speak, who has new face with a beard and glasses, is attacking that doctor for unknown purposes. He's doing the same moves as Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. He's fighting like Bruce Lee, and then he's disappearing into the blue, and he's lucky not to be followed because now they have some street festivities with dragons. Ah, sure. That I found very interesting. Yeah? So these original footage, Jamin Chow was here escorting Linda, and he knew at that time when he was escorting Linda to the casket of Bruce Lee that there were several cameras shooting the scenery for a future shot for a future movie. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? It's hard to believe, but it is absolutely. Yeah. So this is a fight then when one of his henchmen is doing that stuff, and this is also being faked so that it absolutely knew who would win, and they can bet their money on the so-called lucky one who is beating the other party, and there's much money involved, and for the outsiders, for the exoteric, it looks like it's a regular play, but it's all about money in the backyard. So his widow is just arriving and has a hidden revolver in it. It's interesting because Bruce Lee also had a revolver, although weapons are forbidden or were forbidden in Hong Kong. And out of a sudden, then Bruce Lee, in another disguise as an elderly man, is approaching her and says, "Don't do it. It will be solved," or something like that. I don't want to look it up in the script. And then the winner is just presenting his new girlfriend, and the name is June. Where does the name June come from, Brett? You know that.
It's the Roman goddess or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's Roman, Juno. What a coincidence, huh? So a Roman name. This is my new girlfriend. Please take plenty of pictures of her. Over here. Yeah. Where are you from, honey? She's been asked, and the answer, how could it be, is Kansas City. Kansas City, Brett. Oh, the answer is below.
Right.
I want
Wizard
to go.
of Oz, yeah.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz. I want to go back to Kansas. Dorothy. Isn't that something? This is a total play of words here. So now he's presented in the locker room with another fake Bruce Lee. Christ, he puts out. No, it was not Christ. It was just Billy Lowe. Yeah, and they are just having a fight here with several scenes which are impossible, and speed has been increased and all the stuff. So it's hilarious. And then somebody comes up with the idea, oh, it could be Billy Lowe. He's been risen from the grave. If I wasn't positive that Billy was dead, did you look in the casket at the mortuary? Of course I looked in the casket. He didn't look exactly the same, but what the hell? Isn't that a repetition of all the stuff we have done before? Yeah, so that is in the script, that he didn't look exactly the same in the casket as in the mortuary. They are fooling us, huh? They try to get away with that, but this is the official script, I can tell you. And they say, I looked in the casket, he didn't look exactly the same. Did you look in the casket at the mortuary? It didn't look like the same. And he did not look the same, Bruce Lee, in the morgue as he did look in the coffin, in the casket. Come on, really? So much coincidences? Where was he buried? In the Buddhist cemetery, Hangzhou Road. Have him dig up. Yeah, Marshall, which is the name of Adrian Marshall, of the lawyer of Linda Lee. My. Hi, Jim. And then they are approaching that graveyard and they just digging him out. And now comes the favorite scene with the stick from Mr. Steiner. On the other hand, you would see the serpent on the stick, and you see here the other side here with the knife in it, and he's smashing the face, or he's smashing the mask upon. So at least you can say, if you would exaggerate that you say, oh yeah, he's still alive. They are telling it you, but this is movie. It could at least mean that really he was wearing a mask, or he has a mask, or a makeup at the funeral. They are close to admitting it, because they say, did you look in the casket at the mortuary? I looked in the casket, he didn't look exactly the same. They are admitting that in that movie. They are making fun of us, huh? I think they're making fun of us. So salute to our legend, who would have been 80 years old in 2020. But in 2020, people were also wearing masks. Yeah, like this fake Bruce Lee is wearing a mask. Or in the casket, the real Bruce Lee is wearing a mask. Or is just having artificial hair, artificial eyebrow, tons of makeup, and then the entire casket has been stained with the blue color of his dress and all the stuff, and they had to get a new coffin in the United States of America, believe it or not. It's so similar to the case of John F. Kennedy. My. So many coincidences. It's just it's a bunch of coincidences. Always when I come up with Bruce Lee, just one coincidence after another. It's unbelievable. My. Unbelievable. Yeah. So Jim Marshall is then being approached by the Chinese syndicate without no name. Billy Lowe came to the Tai-Yun warehouse in Kowloon, that's the original script, at exactly 1 in the morning, which is, of course, close to the phrase 13 strikes of a clock. That means that the entire story is not true. And now these people on motorbikes are approaching the people, and he has a fight. Fake Bruce Lee has a fight in that warehouse with that motorcycle gang, and then he asks, where is the doctor? Where is your head? Where is your boss? And they say, it's a Red Pepper restaurant. Yeah, Red Pepper. Interesting, huh? Pepper could mean Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band by the Beatles. After Rosemary's Baby, remember, Rosemary's Baby has been directed by Roman Polanski. So the Roman Polanski, who was a pupil of Bruce Lee, yeah, and he directed Rosemary's Baby about the birth of the Antichrist, or birth of the Moonchild. So after Rosemary was impregnated by so-called Satan in that movie, Rosemary's Baby, 1968, many of the occult leaders that knew about this were obsessed with providing her with tennis root. What's the significance behind this tennis root? Tennis was spelled tennis, and it was an anagram for Satan. Was disappointed to discover I was wrong. I could be still a sort of anagram, etc., etc., etc. But tennis actually is a special herb, a special plant. It's called the devil's pepper. And now they are meeting at Red Pepper restaurant. I thought, okay, that's a coincidence, because it can only be a coincidence that it's a Red Pepper restaurant. While Raymond Chow, of course, was then waiting at the Miramar Hotel twice. I do not go into everything, but red pepper can mean Satan's pepper, so it has something to do with Satan. Red pepper. Huh? In the film, Rosemary's Baby is sent a book by Hutch called All of Them Witches, where she discovers the identity of her neighbors. One part of the book is underlined. In their rituals, they often use the fungus called devil's pepper. This is a spongy matter derived from swampy regions having a strong, pungent odor. Devil's pepper is considered to have special powers. It has been used in rituals and worn on charms. But it's, of course, a coincidence. So Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band is referring to, Devil's Pepper. With Aleister Crowley in it and some other blokes. This is just a series of coincidences. Yeah. This is another guy with nunchakus, and his real name is Dan Innocento, and he's one of the closest teachers from Bruce Lee's. But what do I know, you see? What do I know? There are many, many, many things coming up. Tannis root providing immortality, here. Did we know anything about a white snake, Brett, which can provide a herb of longevity or just raising dead people? So Tannis root providing immortality. Tanis is also an Egyptian city shown in the movie Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark to be the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. However, this is only spelled Tanis and not Tanis with double N. But devil worshippers and paper and also all the alike. You can go endlessly in that. So in Rosemary's Baby, Rosemary has a paper wrap book, and Rosemary has been told by Hutch that her name is an anagram. Rosemary, of course, has another meaning, but we will find that out very, very shortly. Very, very shortly. In that movie here, The Game of Death, which finally in the last 11 minutes, so this is the funeral of Bruce Lee. And then it's also very interesting, which I have forgotten, I'm sorry, dear Brett. They meet then on a boat, and he's telling her what happened on a boat, which I found very interesting. Where is that on the boat? Yeah, there, on the boat. Can you imagine the Wu-Tang movie of the death of Bruce Lee when they met on a boat? But that must just another coincidence. Here you see that green American street cruiser. Yeah, and a car which they have been similar cars.
Oh, the guy's carrying the white snake. Yeah.
So much more coincidences.
Yeah.
So that we have all seen. This is the. Sorry. Yeah, this is the scene with the mask. There's a white snake. And you think these are all coincidences, huh? No blood. So he's entering that restaurant, which in fact is a temple outside of Hong Kong, and he's just meeting up the guys there to fight with them. And of course, he's defeating all of them with his bamboo stick. Yeah. And this is where actually here in the last part here, when he's entering that restaurant, Red Pepper restaurant, we are in 1 hour 21 minutes, so 19 minutes to the finish. If you subtract the outro, then you got 11 minutes. This is where the real footage starts. Now, this is the cut where the original Bruce Lee comes in, and look now at the time code here. Yeah, this part is the real Bruce Lee acting, and that part is all mock-up, including his own funeral. So it's all in for the money. And he has now to fight several people, and they have also used the 11-minute part of it, but at least the 30-plus part of it been released in this century, in this decade, 2000 somewhere. I can't remember that. So 1978, they're only allowed to show the people 11 minutes of footage. 11 being a number of Freemasons. Genesis 11 is the building, Freemasons, of stones of the Tower of Babel. So it's Freemasons. Once again, 11 minutes and 7 seconds. What a coincidence. Huh? Now he's hitting him in the head, and he's sitting, and he's sitting, and he's sitting, and all the stuff. And now we go back to the script. Interesting enough is that in that movie here, Bruce Lee is one of his best friends, Dan Innocento, a Philippine martial artist. He's then beating him, defeating him, and then he's wrapping his nunchucks around his throat, and then he's strangling him. Yeah, so until the death. so his neck snaps. It's very interesting because one of the possibilities when you look upon the morgue picture of Bruce Lee is that the swelling of his head, in my humble opinion, could be also that somebody has snapped his neck. So at the end of the game, it's very interesting because that is the boss, Dr. Lang, and he has made a wax puppet, a wax head out of himself, and Bruce Lee does not fall for it. It's such a strange story, yeah. Yeah, so this is a mixing up of this is fake Bruce Lee. It's so disgusting. This is fake Bruce Lee, fake Bruce Lee, fake Bruce Lee, fake, fake, fake. Real Bruce Lee. Fake Bruce Lee. Real Bruce Lee, fake Bruce Lee. It's all for the money, come on. Real Bruce Lee. Fake Bruce Lee. Fake Bruce Lee, etc., 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 etc. Yeah. Yeah, it's always very sunny there. The best bit, of course, would be this Mason reference here.
Oh, yeah. Spirit of Antichrist.
Yeah, we almost made another session, so you can also be glad this is the one here. Yeah, Mason and Company.
Masons with the Jesuits, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's it in a nutshell here. Yeah. There's a book from Fred Weintraub, who was affiliated with the Enter the Dress. His book called Bruce Lee, Woodstock and Me. From the Man Behalf, Half a Century of Music, Movies and Martial Arts. Now I have an excerpt of that book. In 1973, from the same year as Enter the Dragon, American science fiction film, the premise of the movie is a mad scientist is using radiation-mutated bee serum to create an army of female beauties who seduce men to death. So that story never gets old, huh? A bee can also mean 13, huh? So a bee is close to 1 and 3. 1 and 3 makes a bee, if you put them closely together. In that book here, from Fred Weintraub, Bruce Lee, Woodstock and Me, we read, on one occasion, I invited Bruce to join me for dinner with Californian Democratic Senator John V. Tunney, who I also had met through Psi. It wasn't because Bruce had any special interest in politics that I set up the meeting. John Tunney's father was Gene Tunney, and the undefeated heavyweight boxing champ of the 1920s, the man who defeated the great Jack Dempsey twice. Bruce was a student of boxing and a huge fan of the champ. He surprised the senator with his extensive knowledge of the elder Tunney's career, naming what round he won or lost in every single fight, and explaining how it was the thinking boxer style that made Gene such a good fighter. Bruce and I were becoming good friends. And I know there are some other interesting notes here. Bruce Lee was wrong for the part. He was unknown, he was short, his English wasn't good, he lacked the necessary serenity to play the role. So Fred Weintraub says it was him who told Bruce Lee to get to Thailand to get a movie done called Big Boss for $6,000. Bruce said it's so little money and such a big step backwards. I'll be stuck in Hong Kong forever. Noah said this is just a break we've been looking for. I said, so Fred Weintraub said America isn't going anywhere. Go to Thailand and send me footage I can show to the brass. I believe in you. So it was people from Warner Brothers who advised him to go to Hong Kong. So we are closing down that with a short video of Alfred Hitchcock, who was been Jesuitically trained, the 39 steps, where somebody is shooting someone on a stage just from the lodge. These lodge people are people behind the scenes. And there is one particular reason why I don't think that the triads are just the only responsible power in the death of Bruce Lee or in other criminal activities. You will learn that in the future sessions. I hope that I could be of some service into the strange world of the coincidences behind all the movies of Bruce Lee. So let's have it one more time for the 39 steps, because usually there are 33, but there are higher ranks than that. And there are people on top, because you see that here on the top there is something missing. There is just space for something else, and there is space for a certain God which has only been indicated with one eye. So who could it be? So let's face it, we are just in a world full of liars, full of deceivement, full of entertainment, and full of secret societies. And the Masons and co, they have also their ties behind. And how is it all been connected around Bruce Lee? We will go that into next time. I am closing down the sessions here before I give the word to my beloved brother Brett into implementing here that small excerpt from the 39 steps, and you then see what kind of an organization these steps are in the movie of a highly ranked Jesuit trained Alfred Hitchcock. This is Mr. Memory, somebody who has thought much in his head, so therefore he's very much suited to a secret society without any written papers. Yeah, and that Mr. Memory then has to face the task that that guy from that Hitchcock movie is just yelling, what are the 39 steps? And for his pride and honor, he has to answer that question. And this is his answer about the 39 steps. And of course, the 39 steps bears a resemblance to the three Masons with 33 steps or degrees. Look at his answer.
Come on, answer up! What are the 39 steps?
The 39 steps is an organization of spies, collecting information on behalf of the Foreign Office of...
He wasn't able to finish the sentence. Oh, that's the movies for you.
Yeah, so they are closing the curtain. In the original book on the 39 steps, which has been written, and it's no joke, by a spy. It's no joke. Of course, the story is in Scotland, no? Freemasonry, of course. That's also the reason why they have asked that forensic Dr. Tear for the autopsy of Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Lee to Hong Kong, because Scottish Rite, of course. And Hong Kong was under the administration of the United Kingdom. So the triads are not that powerful as you might think, because they cannot order a forensic expert of Scotland Yard. So Scotland Yard, Scottish Rite, Freemasonry once again. 39 steps serves as a prime example. In the end, what happens is that people who are in the spotlight, they will be getting rid of if they talk, because the secret society lives on secrecy. So if you talk, you'll be dead. That's the case in the last session, when we talked about Poison Part 2, on the scene of the boat, where somebody said silence or 6 feet under. If you talk about secret societies, then it's 6 feet under. Therefore,
that's about it, isn't it?
That's about it. And we're speaking openly about Freemasonry here as just a prime example, and it goes way, way, way beyond that. You will see that everything has to do with some other things, and it's pure Satanism everywhere, because they have secrets for a certain reason, because they don't want to be in the spotlight, because they are doing some stuff that you and I would not agree on. So that's it for that session. Handing it over to my beloved brother Brett.
Yeah, that's right. That reminds me, Michael, also that in the Bible, Jesus spoke of not doing things in secret, but doing them in the open. Where was that? Let's see if I can find that scripture.
In the original scripts, it is the Foreign Office of Germany, because that script is coming from the First World War, more or less.
Ah.
You can fill in the blanks.
The high priest then asked Jesus of his disciples and his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whither the Jews always resort, and in secret I have said nothing. So there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. It's just the opposite in this wicked world system. We have all kinds of things being done in secret, and you're never told the truth in the public realm. It's exoteric knowledge. It's not esoteric knowledge. In order to obtain esoteric knowledge, you must be initiated, correct, Michael? Yeah, you've got to be a member of the secret societies to know what their current plans are and what their secrets are. But in terms of, what we can gather from books written about Freemasonry and Jesuitism and all that, basically you have the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. We're speaking of the very mother of the secret society, the Counter-Reformation, as far as I can tell, Michael. It's the alternative to the truth. You always get a lie from Satan. You don't get the truth. And same with the God of this world. You never get the truth. Only the truth that serves him, only the righteousness that serves the wicked one. Because you better believe the wicked one has his own set of righteousness. It's relativity. Where have we heard this before? It's all relative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what the Jesuits tell you. It's all relative. It always has been. So if you're on the wicked side, you get the wicked truth. If you're on the righteous side, you get the righteous truth. But what is righteousness anyway? Well, I would say the Bible defines that. Which Bible? The King James 1611 authorized version of the Bible. That's the Bible, right, Michael?
Yeah, as far as we know, this is the best, this is closest to the truth and closest to the correct translation of it. As long as we do not learn Hebrew or Aramaic or Greece.
Well, and that's the other thing. What does the Bible tell us about knowledge? Well, you need to know certain things, that's for sure, but too much knowledge puffeth up. So if you want to go around being all puffed up and proud of yourself, go ahead. Have all the knowledge you want. We got the internet these days. You'll never cease getting knowledge if you go that route. And you'll never have any rest the rest of your life. You're just going to fill yourself up with the facts, and you can just outdo everyone then go ahead. But I stick with the simplicity that is in the Bible, where Christ says, stand in the liberty where Christ has made us free. And that's all I've got for now. Look forward to the next session with you, Michael, God willing, next Sabbath. And hopefully we get these up on the internet in due time. So God bless. Maranatha.